Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Project number 1. There's a commercial around these parts that goes something like, "When my papa puts on a sale, he puts on a sale." Well, the same can be said of Dollar General, and right now, their framed art is buy one, get one free. So I bought 2 of these church windows. I have this leftover board I'm going to have my sweet husband cut in half to make some brackets, and now I'm headed out to my wood pile to see if I can find something to make a shelf. I can't say this board was exactly what I wanted, but when I saw the color on the side, I squealed a little because I have a paint that will match that exactly. My husband's taking out the nails for me, and I just put it in the sink and washed it with hot water and SOS pads, and it came really clean. He just cut the board in half that's going to make the brackets. That board is just a leftover piece that we have from when we made some decor boards, you know, like charcuterie boards or cutting boards. If you don't have anything like this, you can simply cut a square board in half diagonally and have 2 triangles to use as brackets, or you can buy metal brackets at a hardware store. You probably could even find them on Amazon. The sides of the brackets don't exactly match, so now he's using his belt sander to make them more even and to smooth them out. I probably would not have gone to this trouble, but there's a saying in my family: if you want it done right now, ask me. If you want it done right, ask him. I'm glad he did this. They look a lot better being smooth and matching each other exactly. Meanwhile, I'm headed into my she shack to open up my new wooden church. Oh no, it's plastic poo. I thought it was balsa wood or some kind of lightweight wood. That's okay, I'm still gonna go with it. I just have to find a piece of decoupage paper that will fit on it, that won't have too much of a design that will get broken up. And I think I just found it. Doesn't quite fit, but that's okay. There's enough of leftover pieces for me to add not just 1 but 2 because I cut wrong the first time. It still fit. For my decoupage medium, I'm using Debi's DIY liquid patina in the color Crystal Clear Chandelier. And this is much like every other video you've ever watched with somebody doing decoupage. I put the medium on one part, got my paper wet, and put it on there, and this worked really good. It smoothed out really easily. But while you watch that, I want to explain to you why I am using a foam paintbrush to apply my decoupage medium. So here's what happened. I don't have a water source in my she shack, so one of y'all recommended I use a big jug with the spout to wash my brushes. I got one and it's empty, so I had taken it in the house to fill it up and I forgot to bring it back out. So last time I took my brushes in the house to wash them, and when I went into the laundry room where I normally wash them, that sink had this big jug in it that we had kept our dog SNACKS in, and I can't say SNACKS out loud right now because I'm sitting by my dogs, and if I say that they'll start barking, and my dogs only bark for 2 things. They bark for their SNACKS, and they bark if someone is here, like Kelly, our mail lady. So last time I used my brushes, I brought them in and I washed them in the bathroom, and I was so glad that I had done that because I remembered I needed some of my rags out into my shed too, and I had folded them and stacked them in the bathroom when I washed those brushes because I was going to bring them out last time. And I figured if I set them by the brushes, I would remember to bring them all, and I actually forgot both of them. So I grabbed my brushes and the stack of towels and I put them back in the kitchen, and I thought I should fill up my water jug because then I'll not have to do this again and I'll have everything I need in my she shack. Well, just then the dog started barking and I realized that Kelly, the mail lady, was there. So I went out and talked to Kelly and I got the package, and I realized it was the dog SNACKS delivery from Amazon. We get them duck jerky, and that's the best price we can find. Well, I started chuckling a little, and I thought maybe I should tell Kelly why I was laughing. And I knew she would understand because she's a Christian too. Neither one of us believes in coincidences or irony. And I told her I thought God was sending me a little message telling me it was about time I washed out that dog SNACKS jug because it was wreaking havoc on me getting my other stuff done. So we talked for a while, and then I came back in the house and I decided right now I'm going to wash that jug that is wreaking havoc on everything else, and I'm going to get everything done once and for all. So I started washing the jug, and all of a sudden the dogs start barking. They only bark for two things, so I'm thinking they smelled the SNACKS, plus they hear it when we open it. So they thought that they were getting some. Well, no, they weren't there. They were in the backyard. And so I went out there to see what was happening, and the rooster was trying to attack a cat. Well, the cat jumped up on this post for the fence, and my dogs are now terrifying it too. And I remembered, oh yeah, my dogs bark at three things. That's right, cats too. So I grabbed our rooster chasing stick and I chased that big old mean rooster away with it. And then I shooed the dogs in the house and I went back and helped the kitty. And when I picked him up, he had these bumps on the back of his neck, and I realized that he was scratching some sores or where he was itching, and I thought he must have fleas, because if you don't treat your animals around here for fleas, they're going to get them. Even our naked dogs get fleas in like the hair on their head sometimes. So I thought I needed to call my sweet husband because he was in town and I needed him to stop by the vet's place to get some flea medication for this poor kitty cat. And I remembered that my phone was out in the she shack where I had been filming my decoupaging. So I put the kitty down and I went into my she shack, and I saw my phone was above where I'm filming my decoupage. And I thought, oh yeah, I have to finish that. So I came back over, and that's why I'm using a foam brush. The good news is, though, I just now remembered to tell my husband to get flea medication next time he goes into town, and he set an alarm on his phone so that we won't forget that. Now, the reason I told you this story is because I know you are a lot like me, because YouTube always tells me that in my analytics. And so if you guys sometimes do kind of stuff like that also, I want you to know that you're not alone. I don't want you to think you're dumb or anything, because sometimes I think I'm dumb when I do that. I just want you to think, oh, there's somebody else that I kind of like that also does this, so maybe I'm not so bad. Okay, back to this. I put another layer of Debi's DIY liquid patina over the top of everything after it was all stuck down, and I set it aside to dry. The next day, it was so smooth. You guys, it worked so good. And I just pressed it down with my fingers too, but it was just as smooth as it could be. Now you can get rid of the paper, the excess paper that's over the holes where the window cutouts are, several different ways. You can use a razor blade, you can cut them with scissors, and then you can sand the edges, so many ways. Well, I used a lighter and I burned the paper. So right now, while I'm doing my voiceover editing, my sweet husband, I ask him sometimes to look at what I'm doing and ask him advice, and he said, and I quote, "Under no circumstances are you showing a bunch of other women just like you who don't keep water in their she shack how to burn down their she shack." End quote. So I apologize for not being able to show you the film I have for the rest of this part of the process. Moving on. Imagine the glee I felt when I realized Debi's Design Diary paint in the color Mint Chip will exactly match the paint on the wood I found in the wood pile that I'm using for the shelf on this window. I need to make the brackets look just like that paint, and it has been wearing off for a very long time out there in the rain. Plus it was already old when we ripped it out of the cabinets in the kitchen and took it out there. It's already painted white on the bottom, so I just went over that with the Mint Chip, let it dry, and then I added a second coat and let that dry. I'm going to wet distress these. That means when I wipe away some of the green, the white will show through, and there's quite a bit of white on the other board, so I want it to match that. I am using a dirty towel for this, and no, I'm not using a dirty towel because that's all I have in my she shack. I'm using a dirty towel because it's crusty from drying with wax on it. And I want it to kind of cut through the paint so that it shows quite a bit of the white. I'm only doing it one time in each area, and I'm only going in one direction. As I go, I'm using my water mister and not getting the towel wet. And if the towel is too wet, that it starts kind of being mushy and it's not scratching with that dry wax, then I just move my finger to a different place of the towel and use that. When I started doing the front edge, it didn't come off as easily, and that's because I put it on raw wood, so I had to work at that a little bit more. And I thought it would be okay without the white there. It's not like it's a big place, you know, like this big area where you're going to see, oh no, there's no white. I'll just fix that when I add the dark wax. All my regular viewers know I like Debi's products best, but I am trying to get rid of some things in my stash, so I'm using Waverly's dark wax, and I'm just putting it all over, well, not all over, I'm kind of putting big loops of it and smearing it around and making sure it's not like even. And then I'm going to do the same process with my towel and wipe over it one swipe in each area. I'll go back a couple of times when it didn't have enough or it had too much, and then I'd also go back with my sprayer and just mist it a little bit to get that look that matches the other board better. I don't match it exactly, but I got it good enough to where you're not going to look at it and go, oh, those are totally different. You're just not going to really notice it when they're right next to each other. I think I did a pretty good job at making it look like it was old, and that's what I wanted. So now it's my sweet husband's turn to show us what to do, and I just want you to know he is not wheelchair bound, but this is how he gets around in his shop because he hurt his back in Afghanistan and now he has arthritis in it as well. So this helps, and he doesn't have to get up and down and up and down and up and down when he's working on stuff. He's also very proud of how he keeps his washers, and he wanted me to share this with you. He keeps them on a big bolt, and not only does it keep them from getting lost, but he has them in order of size. So if he needs a smaller one from like the middle of that bolt, he just takes the ones off the end with his hand and keeps them in place while he takes the other ones off of the bolt. Then he slides those other first ones back on and has them all in place. It is kind of genius. I'm very proud of him for that. You have to drill a pilot hole in your wood or else the screw will split the wood, but you want to make sure that your screw is bigger than the drill bit that you're using, or else when you put your screw in that hole, it won't have anything to catch onto and it will slide right out. So to do this, he's holding that piece of wood exactly where he wants it, and he's going to drill the pilot holes and then put the screws in with the washers on them, but not all the way. He'll just do it enough so that he knows where that hole is that goes into the wood. By the way, Rufus is not out there to keep an eye on us. He's waiting for Kelly because she might be delivering more SNACKS. My sweet husband wants me to show you these brushes he found at Harbor Freight. He uses them for disposable brushes, but they're made of real horsehair, so you can wash them and reuse them. He just throws them away though because they're that cheap. He's going to apply Gorilla brand wood glue to both the plastic frame and to the wood piece that he's putting in the same place. Now, do you see those two little bumps there that are sticking up in the glue? Pay attention to those, and I'll show you in a minute what those are. Once he has the glue attached to both, he puts that wood on there, and remember I showed you those two bumps? Look really close. Those are the screws. They are still sticking out just a little tiny bit, and he just wiggles that wood around so that he knows exactly where to put the screws so that they will be in the pilot holes. He is so smart. I am telling you, I would have already had this broken in like 5 places. He's using a regular screwdriver to screw that all the way back in to the wood, because if you use a drill right here, then you can use too much torque and you can break everything that you were just so careful not to break in the first place. Now that everything is put together and he doesn't have to worry about it sliding around with the glue while he makes pilot holes, he can make more of those and add more screws and washers. And I can go in the house to work. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's 100 and too many degrees outside with the same % of humidity. Because it's plastic, I don't think this would be heavy duty enough to hang coats, but I do think you could hang keys on it, so I'm giving it some pilot holes so I can add some cup hooks. Here's a little trick my friend Braden taught me to screw in these hooks. It works pretty good, but then my sweet husband found this awesome tool on Amazon, and it works even better, especially if you have arthritis. It's hard to get those screws in sometimes when they're on that tiny little hook. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Anything you buy from Amazon by using our link to get there, Amazon will give us a small compensation, but they won't raise your price. I really like how it turned out, but the plastic does bother me. That's probably my own hang up because my dad always said he was alive when plastic was invented and he wouldn't have that cheap stuff in his home. That said, I would hang it in my home because it's really cute. I thought it might look better if I painted the plastic sides with some of the mint chip, but I wanted to ask y'all what you think because you guys have really good taste. Let me know in the comments below if you would paint the raw plastic with mint chip or just leave it. Once I move forward with that decision, I will seal all of the boards with matte clear spray by Rust-Oleum. Project number 2. I bought 3 stainless steel canisters at the thrift store for $4, only to bring them home and find out that stainless steel ain't so stainless anymore. Even after I ran them through the dishwasher, I couldn't get the rust stains removed. So I decided I was going to use that real cute blue paper with the pink flowers from project number 1 that didn't work out. I put the canisters on the paper and made 2 little marks where it needed to be cut. Then I lined it up square on my counter along the front. It's very flat against the front, and that way I get a 45-degree angle line on this side. Now, I shouldn't have used a felt marker because obviously, Heather, it bleeds through the paper, but that's okay. I'm going to put something else over this, so it doesn't matter, but just be aware of that when you're doing this. I made sure that the part of the paper that was cut by me was on the bottom and the part cut by the company was at the top, because their cut is going to be straight, and I can kind of tuck it in where that stainless steel metal comes over and wraps around the top. I put the liquid patina on one little area at a time and added wet paper to it and just smoothed it out every time I added a new little bit of paper. When I finished each canister, I turned them over and folded the bottom paper over, and then I put extra liquid patina on it. When I covered the smallest canister, both sides of the paper were cut by me, so instead of pushing it up to that edge, I put it over the edge, just so, it wouldn't have any gaps. Then I used a stiff brush and I gently pushed it up underneath that edge all the way around. I have this sped up so it doesn't look like I'm being gentle, but I am. After everything dried the next morning, I did not like it going over the edges. It just made it kind of stand wonky. So I started sanding that off. It's completely dry now. And then the parts that I couldn't get, I just scraped off with the razor blade. I cleaned that up, and I'm not sure what I should have done there. The edge was a little bit raw on the bottom, and I could have put another piece of ribbon there or something. What do y'all do when you decoupage something that has a rounded edge? It has to go around, that's on the bottom, that it's going to be sitting on. I figured eventually it would get torn anyway, so I might as well get rid of it in the beginning and be able to seal it so it won't get wet up inside of the paper. Let me know what you would do though. Using liquid patina, I sealed the canisters after they were completely dry, and I made sure to get a lot on the bottom where it was now not going around the edges, because again, I don't want to get it wet up underneath that paper. For the small canister, I had to put the paper over the rim. I used my X-Acto knife to put it right down in there at that ledge, and I slowly went around. I went around 2 times to make sure that I went all the way through the paper, and I was surprised it didn't tear, but if it did start to tear, I would have lifted it up and poked it in a different place and gone backwards to the place where it started to tear, and that way it would still be a straight line and not have a tear mark. I was surprised at how easy the paper came off, but I didn't even have to clean it after this. I did make sure when I put the liquid patina over the paper, I tucked my brush up underneath that rim. Next, I got out my quick and thick Titebond glue, and I used a brush to put it around the top underneath that edge of each canister, and I used some crocheted ribbon that I found at Dollar Tree and just put it around the top. When I got to the end, I folded the piece over under itself and I glued that bit together, and then I glued that whole part down so that the two sides just met right up almost together, kind of overlap so you don't see a frayed edge. When that glue was completely dry, I took them outside and sprayed them with Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover in clear matte. I let that dry for about an hour and then I sprayed it again. I think I'm going to do it one more time because I decided I'm going to use these in my bathroom. You guys will never guess what fits in that large canister. Well, maybe you'll guess. But here, let me show you, and you can tell me what you think of these adorable canisters. So, did you guess? 2 rolls even, y'all. How cool is that? I think these look great in my bathroom. I'm going to keep the toilet paper in one of them on the back of the toilet, and the other 2 I'm going to keep my hair scrunchies and bobby pins in one, and the other one will be for cotton balls. Project number 3. Every once in a while, I get a hankering to paint something or make something that has absolutely no purpose other than looking at it and it's cute. And that's what I'm doing with today's project number 3. I found this in the bridal section at Hobby Lobby and it was on clearance and it was half price off that. So I think it was like $1.50. I'm using Debi's DIY beadboard to paint the inside just to cover up the wording, and then I'm going to cover up that piece of wood where the 2 hearts are. I used 2 coats, letting the first one dry before I added the second. I also painted the inside of the frame. This is just one little piece of Rechargeable Treasure's sampler page where she shows her different designs. I decoupaged it with Debi's liquid patina. For the design on that front board where the hearts were, I'm using one stamp from the Antiquities collection and black ink, both from Iron Orchid Designs. This is thin mount and I cut a piece of that off and put my stamp on it. It just keeps your stamp stabilized so that the parts that you don't want to mush down on your item won't. Keeps it nice and tidy. I put the stamp face up and then used my ink pad to dab the ink onto the stamp. When it was loaded, I gently set it right where I knew it was exactly positioned perfectly onto my board, and I held down one hand while I rubbed over the entire stamp with the other hand, and then I switched hands and did the same thing. And ta-da! I did it! Y'all, I'm getting so much better at stamping! I'm so proud of myself, and I hope you're proud of me too! Two things I love about crafting are more and more. I don't care what it is, I want more because more is more. I love to do layers. So right now I'm adding another layer, and that's using up my scraps of IOD transfers. It is so easy to apply transfers. Just cut them to the size you want and put it where it goes, then give it a little rub with your hand to give it that initial stick. Every Iron Orchid Designs transfer book comes with a transfer stick. Use the flat end of that little plastic stick to rub the entire surface of your transfer. The plastic sheet that the transfer is on is called a carrier sheet. When you've rubbed that entire area, pull back the corner of your transfer sheet with your other hand while you continue rubbing your transfer. If any of the transfer comes up with the carrier sheet, just lay it back down and rub again. That should get it to stick unless you didn't wait for your paint to dry or maybe your surface is dirty. Try it several times if it doesn't work. When the transfer is completely released from the carrier sheet, use that carrier sheet to rub the top surface of the transfer. That's called burnishing, and it just makes sure that all the little bits and pieces are completely adhered. To seal everything, I used liquid patina, and that was not the right thing to do over the ink. I can't remember what I'm supposed to do over the ink, so maybe y'all could help me out with that and tell me. It's okay, it worked out because I just took some of my beadboard and painted that part that smeared, and it looked really good when I got done. But remind me of what to do there, please, and thank you. Next, I'm using Iron Orchid Designs mold set called Toadstool with their air dry clay, and I'm making 3 of the mushrooms. I like to use one piece of clay when I make my molds, that way it's less likely it will break. So for this, I rolled it between my hands, and then I put that piece down in the stem, and then I continued with the rest of it and put it in the cap. I pushed it in the stem, kind of pushing up towards the cap, and then I put a lot of pressure and just squeezed it over that little micro rim that they have that goes around the edge. When you rub your fingers over the clay on top of that micro rim, it works kind of like a knife, and it just cuts that excess clay right off. I turned it over and pulled back the mold and used just a little bit of my finger to get it started, and that and gravity gets the mold right out of there. Now, a lot of people use cornstarch in their molds, and I do sometimes, but I have found that it's really hard to get all of that out of my molds, so it's almost like they're seasoned or something, and there's always just a little bit of cornstarch left in there. Maybe I'll use it every 5th time or 4th time that I use a mold, but I have found I don't have to use it every single time. To continue using up some of my stash, I'm using a bright red by Apple Barrel to paint the caps of all 3 mushrooms. I'm leaving the stems the white clay, and I'm adding some beadboard white dots to the tops of each mushroom. And then everything, and I mean everything in this project, is getting slathered with some Waverly dark wax. I'm going to wipe it back and do that about 3 times with everything, including those mushrooms. So here's what that looks like, sped up to about 10 times as fast as I did it in real life. Did you see my little inspiration mushroom down on the right hand side? I think I kind of nailed it. I was kind of proud of that. I clear coated everything with Debi's liquid patina, and now I'm ready to put my mushrooms in the little box. And look, didn't even matter that I was careful. The stem still broke. Not a big deal though. I just glue them into place as I put them in the box. To adhere them, I used Titebond Quick and Thick. I used my glue gun to attach some pip beads around the interior of the box. And then I started doing the floral. And the other day, one of y'all gave me the best idea, so today I'm using it. She told me to use some dark wax on the petals of my flowers to make them not be quite so bright. And I thought with this muted design I'm already working with, that would be perfect. So I tried it, and I love how it turned out. I started by putting a little stem of, I don't know what they are, maybe pip beads? Anyway, I found it on the side of the road in an arrangement someone tossed out. And I put that in first, then I put the big flowers in, and I just worked from there, adding different kinds of flowers, and then finally at the end I put in some greenery to fill it all out. I added a crocheted ribbon to the top and made a simple bow, and around that I wound some more pip beads, making the ends a little bit like a corkscrew. And here we have my finished cute little thing to look at. Well, that was certainly a long video. I do appreciate everyone who stuck around. Heck, I appreciate everyone who didn't stick around and maybe who just skipped around. Thank you guys for watching my videos. I appreciate it. I'm going to make this quick, so I'll tell you what. Until you see me next time, I hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, I hope you are blessed. Bye!